dun, 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 dun. Kilted
Bucket
balls.
balls.
Woo! Welcome back to another
Yeah,
episode of Kilted Balls. I think we are getting close to our 1 year anniversary,
that is awesome. Yes, we are.
right? It's 6/21. I was just getting ready to get started into crypto right now. So we are
Yep.
not even 1 year in. um Me personally, Kilted Balls is um not a year old yet, right?
Nope. We
And
were
you,
talking about recording, but we did not
yes,
record till I think mid July,
mid-July.
right?
It was after Cherry Fest. We hoped to
Hmm.
do our first episode at the July 4th week, but that's where we started minting. I started minting
Hmm.
because my first mint was that time
Yeah,
period. So
we did have some awesome combos that weekend, though, which we
huge,
still we
awesome.
still bring up.
Yes, they still come up all the time, and it's interesting
Mhm.
um, how much we've learned in that year.
It's crazy, and you know what's great is that I'm still learning the same lessons over and over again. So
Well, you like that. You like that. I've got to say, being around you for a long time, it is your MO to try something 20 times before you learn the
listen,
lesson.
listen to teachers, really. Is what it
Right,
comes
right.
down to. Like,
Anything, whatever it is. Like 20 times, then you're like, yeah, yeah, I
well,
got it now.
you will be proud. I set a stop loss and a sell order today.
Oh, no.
I did. I got stopped out, but that's fine. It was a little. It was a little. It was one of them. And we've talked. You and I have talked about this. Not much on the show, but when I wake up in the morning and I have a feeling you've spent more time listening to your intuition than I have. I spent many years fighting my intuition. Like something pops in my head, grab a jacket today. I'm like, I don't need a jacket today. And then I freeze. So, where you're much better at that. And it was an intuition I had this morning. And I was like, you know what? I was looking at the charts and it looked like Bitcoin was going to drop a bit. So I took a short out, but I set all my stuff and I lost 27 bucks. So I didn't put in too much, but it skyrocketed. So in that same time
Skyrocketed.
frame, if I would have taken along, I would have made so much money.
So not a future, you were doing the token.
No, I did a 10. I can't
Oh,
remember if
you
I did
did
a
it
10
do
or
a future.
16. Yeah, but I set everything up. But
So
then I got into the Solana short that crypto Lifer was talking about.
so I started trading again last Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not even been a week. So for those of you who've been follow or who haven't been following the show, I took a break. Um, Besides getting liquidated a few times, which is never a good feeling, um, it was more that I could not devote the mental time um, before now. And so now I felt okay, I can start spending some time looking at charts, looking at patterns, developing my intuition,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of going with that. So I started Friday. And here's the interesting thing about my Friday. And speaking about intuition, I started small. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going big. I'm going to start small. So I put 200 bucks in,
Mm-hmm.
right? So KuCoin now, originally, for people, if you didn't pay attention to earlier episodes, it was really hard for me to get money in KuCoin. Now it's easy. So I dropped in 200. It was too easy, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, let's do something. And I'm like looking at futures because that's really exciting. And we've talked about how it's such a gamble because Wix will liquidate you, which is what has happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was like, okay, what do I see? What do I see? And I think it was Bitcoin I was looking at, and I was like, that's going to happen. It's going to happen. I need to do the 100x. I'm looking at the minutes, and I can't get the pattern, right? Like I couldn't. And I told you before, I don't want to go if I can't figure out the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like sitting there and I'm trying to figure it out. And I'm like, I can't do it, but I have so much confidence My
Mm-hmm.
intuition was screaming at me that it was gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, ah, but I can't do it. And then I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot. There's three S's and three L's.
Mm-hmm. Which is
So
so nice.
so instead I pulled the token because I'm like, okay, now I don't have any. I mean, there's still risk. Don't get me
Yes.
wrong. There's
Yes.
still risk, but it's not the same risk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they they like longs are my favorites right now. So a month or two ago, shorts were my favorite, but now longs are my favorite because I'm like, okay, I know it's going back up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So eventually it's going up. So I can hold a long all day forever and there's no risk. And there is a risk if you do the futures because of the wicks, right? You can get liquidated.
Yep. Yep.
But with the 3L token, you're not going to get liquidated and it's
Mm-hmm.
eventually going to go up and you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's my belief. But even with shorts, those make me nervous, but I still feel more comfortable. I have a short right now that I talked about, man, I should get out of it. But anyway, so that was the big change I did is I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna take the risk right now. The market's too crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do that. And so I didn't. And I think on that I made, I don't know, 15%. So I only did 150. That's the other thing. I didn't do my full 200.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go all in either. I'm going to be nice and careful
Yeah.
and be chill, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what I did was like a Bitcoin 3S maybe. I can't remember even.
Nice.
And I made my like $15 and I think I did a Solana 3S as
Mm-hmm.
well. Both with a lot of influence from Lifer about what was going to happen.
Yep.
And he was wrong on the Solana, FYI. But
It did
so
go up a bit. It was weird. Yeah.
yes,
But so much has been, people are really thinking it's going to zero. That's the weird part.
yeah,
So I don't know. I was just looking at it right here. So I guess to go to that, what you're talking about. So just that if anyone's going to try the tokens, I've heard that there can be issues with them. Lifer suggests only doing them like short time frames. I've talked about on here, I took along on Bitcoin when it was 45,000 and a 3S, and I still have those coins.
yeah,
Like they're still there, and it wasn't worth me selling it. It wasn't worth taking that big of a loss.
right,
So I'm just playing it, and it's going to be a learning lesson. It's either going to work out fine, and eventually we're going to get back to 45. I'm very confident of that, and then I'm gonna sell them and go from there and have that money at least the break even.
right.
Even though it's been tied up all this time. If I had that cash right now, I mean, I'd have my island in
Oh
2
yeah,
years.
right, for sure, for sure. You'd be living high on the hog right now.
But something funny about that, and I don't know how much you have heard, but what I'm most excited about right now, we talked a little bit about the false top theory. So
Yes,
that has played out. That's not a thing, which is fine. It was just a theory. So now it's looking like we might not see bottom till November. I've heard bottom that we've already seen bottom all the way till we might not see bottom to November.
right.
But what I'm most excited about is there's starting to be news articles about Bitcoin is dead. And people are talking about Bitcoin being dead. So to me, that means we may have hit a bottom already.
Yes. Yeah, well, a new person that I've listened to, and I didn't, you and I haven't talked about it a lot because I didn't want to give you another podcast to listen to, right?
Okay.
So kind of like how I don't really focus on BitBoy, I thought I
Hmm.
would focus on this one and try to take lessons, but I haven't been doing a good job, right? So
Okay.
it's kind of hit or miss. But it's I think it's Crypto Kid,
Okay.
right? And he's really prolific, but I think it was this last weekend, and it was made me feel really good about getting back in
Hmm.
because he was like, okay, so the bottom is going to be tomorrow. It was like Saturday. He's like, just so we're clear, he goes, and he's like, not financial advice, and this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. But I'm telling you, if you follow the history, if you look at all these charts, and he had like 20 different charts he's like showing and
Mhm.
looking at. And he's like, I told you last week it would happen in a week. He goes, I told you 3 days ago it's going to happen in 3 days. He goes, and I'm telling you that tomorrow's the day. So he goes,
Nice.
that's going to be the bottom. And I was like, wow, that's for people who are in this business, that's a gutsy call because you can be fact checked so easily and
Yep.
ruin everything. So when they
Mhm.
say something like that, they're pretty doggone confident.
Yeah.
And so that was when I was like, okay, I'm scared of my shorts now. And so I had started with a short and I sold that short right away for 15%. And I'm like, I'm going to start looking at longs if I can, which is why, like yesterday, when you're like, okay, I think that short is done with, I was like, I'm too scared. And I just sold it because
Yeah.
shorts are scaring me right now because he was talking and Lifer's been talking about how we're getting closer to the bottom. And I don't
Mhm.
know how the recession is going to affect that, but I'm like,
Yes.
I don't want to take a chance on a short. So I'm looking at what I've done since Friday. And I did two shorts right away, sold one of them, kept one, did a long, did another long, did a short, and,
Nice.
and then got rid of another one.
Okay,
So,
that's awesome.
yeah. So, and by the way, I still have one of those, the Solana short, and I still have Rev, which was not a long or a short. It was just straight up Rev.
Yeah.
But I made 15% on one of those. On this one, I don't know what that is, 12%, and on that one,
Mhm.
15%.
Nice.
So, and my big thing that I'm starting to take away from this, and you talked about this earlier, is trying to go a little bit with my intuition. Now, when we talk about intuition, listeners, it's important for you to know that when I say trust my intuition, it's not um, the normal human intuition response. The reason I trust my intuitions is what my normal MO is for whatever I'm doing, whether it's coaching or real estate or gaming, whatever it is. I fill my head with as much knowledge as I can possibly put into my
Mm.
skull. Like, and I just fill it in and pour it, pour it, pour it, pour it. And then my intuition is my subconscious processing all of that information. And so I try not to doubt that. I try to say, okay, it says the housing market's going to go down. And I'm like, okay, is that true? And I'm like, I don't care if it's true. Like if I'm
Mhm.
feeling it, that means all of that data that I put in my head is giving me those signs. And what the problem is people wait till they can explain it and talk it through.
Mhm.
And I think for a lot of things, like coaching, right? For instance, you get all that data and you just trust your judgment that is instantaneous. And I think a lot of that came from Malcolm Gladwell's book Blink. You remember Blink?
That is a great book.
Great book. If you haven't had a chance to pick up Malcolm Gladwell, you definitely should. But Blink is a great one, talking about how it looks like magic to people, but it's really just years and years of experience. And like
Mhm.
we said, we're still learning. And so I don't trust it completely. But today was a great example. And I think I texted you this around 8 a.m. I'm looking at Bitcoin and Ethereum, wondering if I should do some longs,
Mhm.
right? And so it's right around 8 or 8:30. And I'm like, man, I really think this is going to go up. I think it's going to go up. And I'm like, I can't find the pattern in the chart to really give me a definitive,
Mhm.
but I'm like, man, I feel like it's going to go up. I feel like it's going to go up. And I'm like, well, I'll come back to it later. Now, I never came back to it. It's my little boy's birthday. So we were doing birthdays. But on the 15 minute, there's a 1.83 candle, a
Mhm.
0.26 candle, a 0.35 candle, a 0.39 candle, and a 0.38 candle.
Not bad.
right? So if I had trusted my intuition and said,
You just
yeah,
done it.
I'm just going to pull a 3L. Like it
Hmm.
doesn't matter that the charts aren't telling me what or I can't process it.
Hmm.
I should just go with it and call it good. And, on a long, like you might be people who are listening, you might have heard me do all of those numbers and be like, well, that was only like 3 or 4%. Well, remember, we're doing 3Ls.
Hmm.
So 3 or 4% would be 9 to 12%. And you know what? I'm happy with making that in an hour.
Yep. That's the biggest lesson that I've learned multiple times. And I think that I'm there because I've been doing it, where it's like, even like, because we look at the stochastics a lot.
Mhm.
And when the stochastics is still moving, it tends to mean that everything is still moving, up or down, whatever you're doing. But when I see that 10 or 12%, just take it, just sell. I mean, there's things that you can do.
Yes.
You can move your sell or, over this and that. But for me, if I have an open trade, I'm obsessing over it. And that's not what I want to have my life be.
Yes.
I
And
mean, I can,
I'm right there with you.
so I'm taking that 10%, I'm taking that 12%, and I'm not being greedy. Like, okay, sweet. I'm super happy. So I didn't start until Sunday, started just doing some scalps and things like that. So you started a couple days before I did, like
Right.
getting back in.
But I've only been playing with that original 200 and it's going
Hmm.
well. Even with the ones tied up, I'm still doing good. And you're right on. When you told me to about the Bitcoin, I'd been sitting there mowing the lawn, obsessing about that short because, like I said, I'm so worried about shorts right now. And so when you said that, I looked at it and I even said to you, I don't see it. I don't see it. But I'm like, that gave me enough FUD that I sold it. And I still, like, I was messaging you, oh, it went up another 10 cents, another
Hmm.
10 cents. But I kept saying to myself, I pulled out 15%.
Hmm.
I need to just be happy with the 15% and the fact that I didn't have to worry anymore that day,
Yeah.
right?
If you're pulling out 10 to 15%, whatever you're investing,
Yes.
every day you're going to be okay.
Yeah, right?
Even if it's most days, you're still going to be fine.
Yes. Well,
Because
that's
it's
it.
whatever you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable with $20 or $50, then you're comfortable with that. And
Here's the
you're paying your taxes, and then you have the rest to reinvest.
here's the other thing I'm really enjoying about the tokens versus the futures.
Hmm.
I really like the feel of the futures, but here's what has pushed me over the edge to I still look at the futures,
Hmm.
but I'm not pulling the trigger. And here's why. You know what those trades cost me for those three S's and three L's?
Nothing.
The most expensive one was 16 cents.
Yeah. Where the futures do cost a lot more.
The futures I went to, I saw that KuCoin had given me $12 into my futures account. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go trade that $12. Like, I'll take that. Plus, I'll take my $16 profit and I'll trade it. And I looked at him right before I said go. I was like, wait a second. What are the fees on this? And I went and researched the fees.
Hmm.
And it was like, okay, when you make this, it's going to cost you $12 to open and it's going to cost you $12 to close.
That happened to me. I thought I was going to pull out $20. I was like, and it
Yeah.
was on $200. I was okay. And I ended up getting $4 because of the fees. I was like, okay. So that what
Well,
I thought was 10% was actually only
and here's what I decided. Here's what my brain
okay.
decided for me. Futures aren't worth it. That's not the right way to say it. To get the best bang for your buck on those futures, you got to be going like a grand,
Hmm.
right? And I'm sitting there looking at it going, okay, how confident am I in doing it with a grand? I'm more than confident doing it with 250.
Hmm.
But I'm like, how confident am I with a grand? Like it hurt bad when I blew a grand on a liquidation, right?
Yeah.
Like I kept
Yes.
reinvesting it over and over until I got liquidated and it
Hmm.
sucked. And I was like, that hurt just mentally that I could
Yeah.
lose that
No.
bad. And so I think until you're ready to say, All right, now I'm playing with the grand so that fee is 1%,
Mm-hmm.
right? So because you're making 10, 20, 30%, right?
Yes.
But if you're only doing $100, 20% is gone right off the top. So you've got to make
Mm-hmm.
30% to do anything. So I'm like, okay, I need to just chill my horses
Mm-hmm.
until I've got more than a grand burning a hole in my pocket in my account.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can be like, all right, or some really, really good intel, right?
Yeah. Where you're like super excited about something.
Like I'm like, oh my gosh, I know Bitcoin tomorrow is gonna blow through the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Then I might take 100L, right?
Yes. That's awesome. Well, good. I mean, hopefully, and shoot us emails or messages if you're doing anything and what you've experienced. It'd be great to hear from listeners. And then also, have you bought any NFTs this last week?
You know what? I almost bought one today.
You did.
I came so close and finally I decided no. But there was a nails on the floor for 0.0888.
Oh, really? And you didn't?
And I'm like, nope, nope. I've already got a lot of nails.
Yeah.
So, and I
Yes.
know Ruth is coming out soon. So I was just like, I'm
Well,
really,
yeah.
I'm already vested in that project a lot.
Uh-huh. Well, when I first found out about the Ruth, I did buy another one like that day. So I'm super excited about that. Well, I did, and I can't remember. Well, see, I was thinking we would record this week. We both just got busy and didn't record during the
Right.
week. But and I guess I can look it up. But I did buy. I had a feeling like ETH was low, so I bought some and I had some, and I got another miner,
Yep.
non-fungible miner, and I can't remember what day that was, but I do know I bought two more VFriend Series 2 and they were both 0.4. So I got two more of those,
Nice.
which,
Point four is a pretty good deal.
yeah, I mean, the floor right now, I think is 0.7 or 0.69, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to sell them right now. But yeah, I felt good. I felt good about that price where I was like, okay, I'm just going to snag these. And I did get, shoot, I can't remember. I don't think I got the minor on LooksRare, but I know I got both of the Befriend Series 2 on LooksRare. So
Okay.
excited, to be able to use them and to buy through that website, which I've, more than supported.
That's even better that you got it through Looks Rare.
Hmm.
I almost bought that nails just to list it on Looks Rare. Like I really
Okay.
came close. I was like,
Yeah,
okay, I'll
just to
do
have it.
that.
Oh, wait, I bought what? Oh, and then Father's Day, I forgot. So Father's Day was Sunday.
Yes.
I bought eight more eight more VV
Oh
on
yeah.
the VV app. So anyone who follows me personally, you would have seen on my Facebook that I posted. I got one. Actually, I'd had that one, but for the Jurassic World, you could get a T-Rex. And with
Oh
the with the
yeah.
VV app with their AR, it's so cool. So I took a picture of the T-Rex walking down the sidewalk and I was
Yeah.
drinking my coffee. But
My
yeah, I
wife
picked.
was like, what is he doing?
Yeah, there was, I mean, it's been back at, I mean, with everything's down. So you get a lot of fudsters out there. So a lot of
Mhm.
people are really crapping on Vivi and a lot of prices were really good. So I'm super excited to snag some stuff that I'd been looking at.
I'm gonna
And
get on that app. I haven't got on there yet, and the more you talk about, it, the more I think I need to.
the prices, I mean, this was Sunday. Sunday
Mhm.
to me, the prices were insane. Like I was
Dude,
just
that is
like, "Are
so
you kidding?
awesome.
Like, how could I pass this up?" Plus, I mean, it helps that I have 18,000 tokens
Oh
on
yeah.
the app that I can't do anything with.
That does help. That does help.
But and I should have bought two of all those things. But
Yeah.
I mean, when things turn around, if I want that money more than I want that NFT, then I'll sell it. None
That's
of
true.
those I was married to, but even like the Todd McFarlane Batman was down to like 2,500, and I almost grabbed another one, but I wasn't. that confident because we're supposed to be able to cash out soon.
Well, that's good.
So
Like until it crashes the market because you're cashing out.
yeah, that's probably why they're doing it slowly.
So one of the things that Kilted and I have been looking at, and I want to show you what some of the issues is with looking at futures,
Hmm.
right? So one of the things we've been looking at is waves. So this is the 15-minute on waves. Waves has had a great day. So this is where
Hmm.
waves pretty much started the day, right? So this was 3 a.m. right here.
Yeah.
And you can see it was 487 and now it's 667. So, it's gone up a crap ton, right? And so, one we kind of look at here and there, but I was like, ooh, it's looking good. Right around here is when I kind of really noticed it. And I'm so glad I didn't buy because look what happened,
Hmm.
right?
Is that
And
a cup and handle?
yeah, it's so close to a cup and handle, which this would be the downward part. But here
Hmm.
is the problem with doing futures. You kept hearing us talk about candles and wicks. So this would be, let's see, if you look right here,
Hmm.
see the red part's the candle, and that little line is what we call a wick, right? And the one that's important for this conversation is this one right here. Can you see that little green, but you see that wick going down to the red
Hmm.
line? And so viewers, sorry listeners, but viewers, what happens here is if you do 100x, which is my favorite because it's the scariest. Kilted likes to do 16x's, not as scary. But if you look at this bad boy, you're like, oh, look, it didn't change that much. If you look at this whole line, that's a 4% drop.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's wild. So if you're doing 100xer, a 1% drop liquidates you,
Hmm.
right? If you're 20xer, it takes a 5% drop to totally liquidate you. So if you were at your 16x, you would have hit your stop loss for sure. And notice the market didn't stay there. The market just went fast down and right back up, which is why the
Oh.
candle is where the market really was.
Hmm.
But the wicks are what kill you. And so you can look at this even over here, right? If somebody who had sold here would have been selling for 720 and they could have bought it at the when it was down at what 670.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. That's 50 cents a share, more than 10%. And if you were pulling 100x, that's 1,000x. You 10 times your money.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
so
you're exactly.
that's what makes futures enticing but scary because those wicks can just happen out of the blue like it did right here and it did right here. They're not all nice, pretty candles like this one, right?
So I am on my oh, please. I am on my trading view right now,
Yes.
and I accidentally clicked something where like all my stuff goes away, and I've done this before and it is the worst.
Oh no. So you can't
So
see anything?
yeah, like my charts get all messed up and I don't know like how to get it back. I have to fool around with this.
Oh no,
It's
that's
so
so sad.
irritating. Like you're like, oh wait, I didn't want to do that. And then it's like you click things and then it gets worse and worse. So now I just have a blank screen.
I am going to go on a limb here and
Oh, here we go.
mildly disagree with Lifer.
On that waves.
So what did he say? That's a rising wedge?
He said, yeah, rising wedge to the upside. That was a little bit ago. He says
I think
up
it's a
to
pennant.
8.5.
I think it's a pennant. I think he's forcing it into a wedge.
Okay. And the pennant's 50-50.
I don't remember what a pennant is. I'm just saying that's it's it's okay. So here's my problem with what Lifer is doing here, right? Without even looking at his I wouldn't even call it a pennant. I would call it a triangle.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I and triangles are 50-50.
he didn't name it, So the picture that he drew, the top line is slightly descending and the bottom line is definitely ascending.
Yeah. Well, here's my issue with him drawing it this way.
Hmm.
Like he's drawing that, but he's picking where he wants to start that line, right?
Hmm.
Like it's all over the place in that area. And so he's forcing it to be almost descending there. And so again, that looks a lot like an ascending triangle. Like it looks textbook ascending triangle, to be honest.
So that's where the top is going up a little bit and the bottom is going up.
No, an ascending triangle. Let me
I don't have my sheet in front
yeah,
of me.
I'll show you a picture right here
Yeah, because I'm
from Crypto Lifer. So if you're like, where are they getting these names and stuff? So the person I'm saying, if he had said that, what I'm saying he did wrong, but he didn't say that.
yeah, he just drew it out.
He just drew it. So I'll share my screen again for people who are viewing and for Kilted. So here is an ascending triangle,
Okay.
right? It shoots up at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
which waves did, and then it starts finding its way in this pattern,
Mm-hmm.
which is what it's doing right now, right? It's bouncing back and forth, bouncing
Yep.
through that pattern. And I think in this case, so one of the things when you're trying to draw your pattern is some people say draw the candles, some people say draw the wicks. And
Mm-hmm.
I think you've got to do, and this is because I'm a science person, right? You do the best fit, right? So you
Okay.
got to take into account everything. So like for waves, when I'm drawing mine, and it looked like Lifer did this too, honestly. I'm taking into account that wick because that wick was probably the start from this candle,
Yeah.
right? Because
He
it's jumping,
yeah, it looks like he placed his just before that wick. Yep.
right? You wouldn't want to put it down here,
But
and you don't want to put it down here.
he also drew it at the top of this, at the not the first double top but the second double top at the end of the cup and handle. That it was still going, it was still in that 15 minutes when he drew it.
Oh, I see. I see what you're saying.
Yep. So he could have, it could have still been up, there might not have been a wick there.
Right. But we definitely drew ours really, really similar.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But the problem is, and this is why I think you were super smart, is triangles go 50-50.
Okay.
And so you were looking at this and saying that 15-minute isn't low enough right here. So for people who are
Yes.
watching, this is one of the graphs we look at to decide what's good. And we don't like to buy if this is in the blue. It's not that we won't, it's just that we don't like to.
Try not to.
We try not to. We want that to be down here in this area, right? Um, and that doesn't always work that way, right? Like this one worked that way, but this one you sure as heck wanted to buy it
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
before. And this one, even if you bought it down here, it didn't matter because it was, well, it did go back up.
Mm-hmm.
So
A little bit.
it still went up. But so yeah, we tend to like to do that. Um, but so I think it is going to bounce again, right? I don't think it's
Mm-hmm.
going to break its pattern. I think it's got one more, and it's either going to do one more out of the pattern or it's going to do one more out of the pattern. Like it can't stay in the pattern anymore.
Yes.
So it's either going to drop right now or it'll give us another bounce that may or may not continue.
Well, are you, is that live right there?
That's
Are you
live.
live?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
I'm live.
Yeah, I was gonna say that 15-minute is coming down. The stochastics RSI is coming down,
Yes. Hmm.
but yeah, but it almost looks like a cup and handle now.
It
Really.
is that when you shrink it down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
Which
that'll be
means it
something.
should bounce.
Okay, I'm gonna keep an eye on. Yeah. Oh, right here. So it's up 42% this week.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's had a good run here, right?
But it's down 78% over 3 months.
Yeah, here's where it was. Probably when I bought it. It's probably why it got liquidated.
Hmm.
So anyway, people, that's a great way to get into our brains, what we're doing with trading. We started to trade a little bit more. So far, since we both started this weekend, we're both up, you know, a good chunk, but we're
Yep.
not doing huge money right now either.
Hmm.
So we're taking it cautious and just kind of seeing how it'll play. So
Yes. Oh, one more thing before I know we're winding down.
yeah,
So if you remember, and any of the listeners who are paying attention, I took that loan on Coinbase
yeah, I was thinking
against
about that just
against
the
my
other day.
Bitcoin.
Yes,
So there were a couple times where I got messages on my Coinbase account and emails that said, "Hey, you have to pay extra because your loan to value is off." I forget the words for it, but
sure.
anyways, because the only loan you so much compared to your Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's been
Yes,
dropping. So I've been keeping an eye out, like, okay, I'm looking, and there's not a spot where I could find to just pay it. So I've been watching for that notification because Bitcoin's obviously dropping. So I'm like, I'm going to have to pay. I'll just pay.
right.
All of a sudden, I get an email that says they sold some of my Bitcoin to cover the loss.
Oh,
So I was super irritated. Nothing I could do about it. I didn't get any warnings like, hey, you need to pay this or pay that. So I paid that whole loan off.
yeah,
And I learned a valuable lesson, especially if things are going down, to not do something like that. It is, I think, a big takeaway from there. And
yeah,
I mean, I just wanted to see how it was. Like, okay, it was only like $1,000 or something.
right,
But yeah, not really excited that, and I agreed to it. Like, hey, if it doesn't cover, but to not get any warning or anything like, hey, do this, because I would have just done it. It just
right.
automatically sold. So yeah, I learned a
That's the
valuable lesson.
power of this kind of currency, right? They don't need to play around. You've got the collateral right there, and
Mm-hmm.
which is good
Yep.
and not good if you wanted to keep your Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Most people honestly would be happy. They'd be like, "Oh, cool," like
No, I want more Bitcoin.
but you want more Bitcoin, right? Which I don't disagree with. I think not financial advice, people, but if you have $1,000 burning a hole in your pocket, buying Bitcoin, buying Ethereum at whatever price you can get it in the next week, you'll be really happy with that in a month,
Yeah.
2 months. So,
Year, 2 years. Look further down the road. ETH is 1100 right now. I mean,
right.
1122.
You can
It's crazy.
almost get a whole ETH right now for if
Hmm.
you had a grand laying around.
Yep. And I can't do if we talked about it last week or we were just talking about it, but use my Venmo card where instead of cash back, they give me ETH.
Hmm.
And so it just happened. And ETH was under $1,000 when I got my thing. So it was like I got zero point 0.1 ETH. So pretty awesome
That's so
for my
awesome.
cash back.
Yeah, someone else. I was at a thing this weekend, and a financial guy was like, he had the SoFi card. Is that right? Does
Okay,
that make sense?
nice.
And so he gets his in Bitcoin or Ethereum.
Hmm.
And he's like, yeah, I love that. And I'm like, right now, you've got to love it, right?
Hmm.
Because your Ethereum's going up either way.
Yeah. I mean, not your keys, not your coins. So I can't like take those coins and move them to somewhere else. But I'm fine with that. I'm
Right.
fine with them sitting there. I think Venmo is going to be around, and that's a chance I'm willing to take.
Yeah, for sure. So how could you get those if you wanted them?
I'd have to sell them. I'd have to sell them, and then
Take the money.
yeah, take the money. Blah blah blah.
Okay.
Until,
Okay.
I mean, who knows? I mean, by the time I'm ready, they I might be able to just transfer them to my KuCoin or to my Coinbase or to my Treasure wallet.
Right. Right. That would be awesome. That'd be super sweet.
So that's what I'm holding out for. That I think that's coming, and I'm not really that concerned about it.
Nope. Nope. I think that's good. Well, hopefully, listeners, we provided you with some insight in how we've been looking at trading and different things we've been eyeballing. And I know there's a recession coming up, but I'm feeling really good with the crypto market.
I
So
don't know. Janet Yellen said there's no recession.
yeah,
So yeah, I
yeah,
mean the banks pay her a lot of money. So
Right. Well, I'll tell you this. I was talking to my wife about it this weekend that recessions are self-fulfilling prophecies
Yes.
because I was looking at this weekend. I was like sitting there, I'm like, you know what? I want to get some deck furniture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just gonna go out and buy something nice and get it and be done with it. And I'm like, and you know, while I'm at it, I'm gonna grab a whole living room set. I'm like, because I'm tired of the living room set. So I'm like, I'm just gonna go do that. And then I'm like, wait, I'm gonna be traveling out of country in a couple weeks. I'm like, and there's a recession. So I'm like, if there's a recession, I can get it a lot cheaper in a month.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, why would I go buy it now? Which is exactly what causes a recession.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, the recession talk gave me enough FUD to not go make all those purchases. I went to go buy a truck a week ago and I was like, you know what? Used cars are atrociously high right now. In 2 months, when the recession hits, I know they'll be cheaper. So why go buy it?
Mm-hmm.
I can wait a week or a month or two.
Yeah.
So we're fueling
Well,
that
I am
recession.
not buying in. I went out, PetSmart had a crazy deal on 75-gallon aquariums. So I bought a new 75 with a stand. So
Oh
my
my
discus are
goodness.
going in there. I'm so excited.
I thought you just always got them off of Facebook.
I do, but it was such a good deal.
It was shiny.
It was
It was
shiny.
shiny.
It was like less than half a E.
That's how I started looking at a few things that way recently, and I was
Mhm.
like, and that's why I need to not buy anything
Mhm.
because I was like, I forget even what I was looking at. I'm like, yeah, it's like an ETH. What do I care? And then I'm like, oh no, 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 nope, nope.
Like I'm gonna care in
Ah,
a few years.
in a few years I'll care, so I don't want to spend that. If I have a
That's
thousand,
awesome.
if I'm gonna go buy a truck for 12,000, I'd rather get 12 ETH.
Yeah.
So, all right, people, enjoy your night. This is Ballbuster signing off.
Got the Dragon Chair. Love you all.